Manosphere content is making men hopeless. Just a month ago, I would have identified myself as a Manosphere creator, believing it genuinely wanted to help men, calling out modern feminism, promoting masculinity, and empathizing with the struggles men face.
Yes, there are some Manosphere creators that offer no hope, but those fall more on the black pill side, and that's more considered on the far end of it, where most of these Manosphere creators do actually offer solutions. And even though I think most of them are just grifters, and their solutions are often just band-aids or something they just happen to sell, it does give men some hope. But what I really think is going on here is that you just don't like the solutions. You just don't like the idea that they're telling guys to not marry, fly over and get their rice queen, or other things along these lines. Because what all this stuff have in common is that all these solutions are leaving Western women behind, namely yourself. And that's why you're going to bring up this small subsection of the Manosphere and paint it over like it's the whole thing, when in reality they're a small percentage. And that's why anyone who's gone below the surface level of the Manosphere or the red pill, don't take these female Manosphere creators seriously, because you get observations like this.
Men are definitely facing serious issues that I and other creators are well aware of. But the Manosphere and its key figures have lost their way. Instead of addressing these issues with hopeful solutions, it's become a non-stop dunk contest on women, where the absolute worst examples of what it means to be a woman are deceptively promoted as though they represent the average woman in modern society.
While she may be right that a lot of these key figures are just doing dunk contests, namely the Whatever podcast, a lot of these guys are having trouble with women or experiencing firsthand of what we talk about, i.e. divorce, child support, or cheating. And even though these clips or people are on the extreme end, it gives these disgruntled guys something to laugh at and something they have experienced, even on a smaller scale, that is not just them. And even though I don't think most of these women are as bad as the women as we showcase, the Overton window has still shifted, and now having a body count of 5 is like being seen as a virgin 30 years ago. So even though they may not be doing some of the crazy stuff that we see, they're still doing that stuff to a certain degree, which would have been unheard of 30 years ago.
Which leads me to the most important point. You have to keep in mind that top creators are feeding an algorithm where negativity sells and their cause takes a backseat to their need to satisfy an audience. I have experienced this firsthand. I've posted reactionary content because I knew it would pull people in, but I stopped because this only drags viewers deeper into hopelessness. They stop thinking about the things they can improve and instead focus on the enemies highlighted by creators. This doesn't help men, it only leaves them angrier and more isolated.
What she gets wrong about this is she thinks that these people actually have a cause. Most of these guys on the Whatever or Fed and Fraud don't care about their male audience that they're supposedly trying to help. What they're trying to do is help themselves to their money. They just use these people as a reason why you need to buy their coaching or their books. They only have the very basic or generic information that any stranger can give you. And from the sounds of it, you did the exact same thing. So how would we know that you're not doing the exact same thing right now by taking up arms against the very people you did the exact same content with?
And if that wasn't enough, the angriest voices head to the comments section and create a groupthink trap where even level-headed men can lose hope, allowing a vocal minority to shape their views of women and dating.
You could tell this girl actually has no idea how men think, because if you actually look at those angry guy comments, there's always more than enough pushback on whatever he's saying. Men do not group think. Why do you think there's so many subsections in the Manosphere? Because men usually differ on solutions, and that's why if you go to any of these subsections, they all say something a little bit different. And what I think she means to say by it fools these level-headed men is it wakes up these asleep men to ideas or things they may not have seen, and just because it's not said in the nicest way, I guess it means it's bad, and we need to disqualify it.
In reality, many men, short, fat, tall, skinny, paycheck to paycheck, wealthy, are living fulfilling lives with incredible women who love them. As of 2019, 61% of men aged 25 to 54 have partners. And I've got news for you. 61% of men those ages are not 6 feet tall, making 100K and looking like Thor.
This 61% statistic she has isn't the own she thinks it is, as I'm sure it's very outdated because it was before the pandemic, but let's just run with it. That's still 39% of single people, or nearly 131 million, and that's a sizable chunk. And just because you have somebody in your life that didn't marry a Dantes, that doesn't disprove the general rules. There could be other factors to that, like she's a single mom, she's fat or old, and just because these people are together, it doesn't mean, well, job's done. That isn't a metric for success. As we know, a lot of these people are probably not happy, or there's cheating going on, or she's having somebody else's kid without him knowing and passing it off as his. And for a video about how the Manosphere has no solutions, she hasn't provided one yet, other than some statistic that says 61% of people are together, providing no context of the status of that relationship, saying some of those guys are short, fat, and not rich. And none of those are solutions. You're just cherry picking data that may or may not be relevant. And when your statistic still has half the population not in a relationship, it isn't the slam dunk you think it is.
So the next time you're consuming this content, ask yourself, is this just a dopamine hit, a way to validate my victimhood, or is it actually making me a better man? If it's only fueling bitterness, it might be time to seek content that actually helps you rather than just feeding your resentment.
I think more men use the content she's describing as more of a comedic valve and a way for these guys to let off steam, but that's how men work through these things, and that's why there's really no room for these female Manosphere content creators, because if we aren't doing it their way, it isn't the right or correct way. Men work through things differently than females, with jokes and dunking being part of the process, and even though a lot of men probably do come in here bitter, I can say for a fact they don't leave it bitter, so don't paint what a few people do as everyone, because I'm sure a lot of these guys are actually happy, or at the very least fine, and what I really think is going on here is that you just don't like the solutions that the Manosphere has, and you want to use these bitter men as a Trojan horse to say these guys have no solutions, yet provide none yourself, and from the sounds of it, you're just moving from one grift to another. So maybe next time, before you come in firing both barrels, you should make sure they aren't blanks.